afternoon, it's Valerie here. Greetings to you from Sydney, from the beginning of what is now 2023. I'll spare you the normal stuff people say about what it means to start the new year and just jump in and share with you what I've been doing today. Every year, usually I would have done this at the end of the year, but some stuff came up, so I'm doing it at the beginning of the year. I would take an opportunity to take stock, and I have to tell you that I almost cancelled this trip, thinking that maybe I didn't really need it and it seemed a bit superfluous, and should I really do it? Called a friend, she said, no, you need to do it, you always do it, just do it. And I'm going to voice some things that I was experiencing, but mainly as a mother. I have always worked. I've worked since I was 13, not because my parents made me do it, but I don't know. I just found myself wanting to experiment. I think that would be the right word to use, wanting to experiment. It's just curious, wanted to see what would happen if I put up some things around the neighborhood. My very first thing I did when I was 13 was to teach music. Don't ask me how that thought got into my head. It must have been wrapped into some needing to buy some stuff for myself or whatever. And even when babies came along, I worked, and I've never not had a job. And so if you're a parent, you will probably know that when you have young kids and you are working, there's not a lot of space in your life to do nothing. And it became a habit and a pattern since my kids were much younger that I would try to have a morning off. It began with once a week, and then it was an afternoon off once a month. And one of the very first things I did, which was very, very hard, but set me up for a template for the rest of, I guess, for the last 20 years that I've been a mother, was I spent some time away from my kids overnight with a group of other women. And I thought it would be very difficult, and it was at the beginning, but I found myself actually writing letters back to my son, who at the time was only about 18 months. And I wrote letters to him every time I went away. And what I discovered of that process was how much I actually wanted my son at the time to know not only that I loved him, but that I was taking some time to connect with the world, connect with other human beings, so that I could come back and be refreshed and recharged, but also, I suspect, just more three-dimensional for him. I noticed that the things that I would write in these letters were beyond just the things that I would say to him if we were present in a room together. I'd be sharing with him. Remember in fact, I think the first letter I wrote to him in this book started off somewhere along the lines of being, I'm not sure, because the idea was that I was going to give it to him when he was 21. It didn't really happen that way. I could just shared the book with him when it was appropriate. And I said, you might be reading this when you're in your early 20s, and I don't know if we will be friends, if we will be talking to one another, and if we would have had some history together that would make reading these things very, very difficult. But I just want you to know that I love you, and I'm confident that no matter what you and I are experiencing when you're reading this as a young adult, I know that I will love you. And I found myself being able to share things with my son and then, with my daughter, that accessed who I was as a human being, or who I am as a human being, beyond just being a mom. And so from the beginning, it seemed like a really helpful thing to do for myself, and to have some space to just reflect and things like that. And lo and behold, after having babies, then you have I've grown to have some other roles in my world as a psychologist, owning a couple of businesses, and having interests and pursuits that are beyond the home. But I did struggle today to leave the family, and I think it's because we're now a household of mainly grown adults, and the company is great. I no longer have to, run after messy kids and pack up and pick up and clean and all of that. It's a lovely time, and we're companionable, and there's always something going on that's fascinating, even with our dog, who's gives us lots of laughs and cuddles and all of that. And there was really no reason to leave today. But I did, because it's a pattern and I'm familiar with the after effects. I know that after coming back, it will feel different and it will feel good. What I've discovered is that being a mother also motivates me to model to my two young adults, one almost young adult, the need for reflective space and time, and to take yourself out from the busyness and the noise. Because I know that if I am at home, my attention span is shorter, because I will want to fix something, or I want to go and open the fridge, or something will happen. So it has been a great day for me for day one, and I don't tend to deviate very much from the process. My whole purpose for this end of the year / beginning of the year, normally I would have done this last year, is to do a review and really just open up my perspective. A lot of times as people, we live in the gaps. We live in believing that we haven't done enough, or we haven't pushed hard enough, or what we've delivered has been superficial or shallow. And the year in review exercise for me helps me to confront those beliefs and actually read through some material that I've written all through the year and discover if indeed it has been a year of gaps, or whether there has been a year of gains. So the first thing that I've done is I would have set out in my car, which I did. I've put there, I think it's point number 2, some joy. I hadn't realized how much I have missed actually heading out and just listening to some music. It was on very, 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 very loud. Thank you to Spotify's ability to put the 2022 playlist. It was on extremely and exceedingly loud, and I didn't have to worry or think about being courteous or considerate to anybody else in the car. Then I headed to the beach, which is a space which I'm trying to get to more often. My car is actually ready packed with a outdoor spontaneous / beach kit. It has everything that I need in the back of my car ready to go. And that was the first thing that I did. Spent some time reflecting, rejoicing, and reading through scripture for myself. The next thing that I do, and this is a ritual that I do every quarter, but the biggest one is at the end of year review, or in this case, my beginning of the year review, is that I find that I just need to confront that belief that I've delivered a bunch of things that have been wanting. And so I just go from head to toe for the things that I've written. So I would have written to myself at the beginning of the year. So 12 months ago, I would have written something to myself. And it's written in a way that says, this is the year that, this is the year you, this is the year we. So it's a projection really, or a forecast of some, not goals, but a story, a narrative that I delight in writing, to say, this is the year that, etc., 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 etc. And then I revisit then a strategy and some forecasts for activities to reach that scenario. So there would have been things that I would have written for our business in 6 to 8 strategic areas, which would have had a list of things that would need to happen in order for that story to be a reality. And then what I do is I go through each of those things and I look at the data that helps me to see whether it was done, whether it's ongoing, or whether something new happens. And this is the beauty of this exercise. You're writing these things thinking that they must happen because they are now your rules for yourself. And you are pleasantly surprised when other things have happened that you wouldn't have thought would eventuate. And that's a delight. And once I go through that exercise, I actually usually wear a great smile on my face because, mind you, this is a process that goes through a few different layers. Once these things are written at the beginning of the year, I review them every quarter by doing exactly what I'm doing now, which is taking myself away for a few days, a couple of days, and I go through the whole exercise and I review how we're going and I give a thought into every quarter. And then from there, we have our quarterly team meetings and we have our quarterly leadership meetings. And it's all goes through these cycles, if you like. So in some sense, it's being reviewed, but human bias is that you're going to be critical. It doesn't matter whether I looked at this in September, I still feel like, we've been off course or off target or whatever. So once I've done that, I usually sit with a great big smile because I realize that there's been a lot of gains, and largely because other people have come on board and other people have contributed and other people have grown and things have evolved. Now from that point, I would then, what I actually then did was I was at the beach doing that, came back into check into where I'm putting up, and I redesigned the future, or I designed the future, and that is really now stepping back, going for a walk and having a look and going, what does the natural step look? What's the next natural step look like, right? What is the possibilities, the entire picture? Now, I haven't written my vision for this year yet, but I just do a bit of a design, and I really love this part of it because I just play around with, what a typical day might look like, or what a typical week might look like, a month, a quarter, and just do a real brain dump. And the point of it is to get a sense of, wow, look at the gains that we've had. What would be a natural extension of these gains into the new year? And then we'll come actually writing the narrative on it. I'm about to do some exercise, have my dinner. No, exercise and bath. That's really important. Have my dinner. And then the day is done. 3 things that I want to land with that I'd love to share with you. Number 1, it's becoming increasingly clear to me that who I'm becoming very much leads the way for any of this strategic thinking that I've been doing. Who I'm becoming to my husband, who am I becoming to my kids, who am I becoming to my friends, to my family. That's got to do with character and values and virtues and all the stuff, all the stuff that is there for making me who I am and who I'm becoming. Number 2 is, what am I leaving behind? And this is not some legacy empire building statement. It's more, what is the essence of what people will remember, not because of what I've achieved, but who I've become and what I've been able to leave behind in their life. What is it that they will remember? Not because of all the achievements that we have. And the third is, and who are we bringing along in the journey? I'm here by myself doing all of this thinking, but I'm excited to take, the 70% forecast, if you like. Our team is at a size now where I will forecast the fuzzy picture, but they will now take and refine what that 100% picture looks like. And so, who are we bringing along in this journey? And are we doing it in a way that when it's all been said and done, we'll be able to say that it was done with grace and compassion and love and service and all of those things? That's far more important for me these days when thinking about, I'm halfway through my life. I wonder what that's like for you when you think about pulling back, reflecting, retreating from the noise and the busyness of the day. What's it like for you? Look forward to sharing with you what day 2 is tomorrow.